When the COVID-19 lockdowns took hold in 2020, we brought you the story of how 3 aquariums around the Great Lakes and the animals that live there were handling all the changes. A year later, we decided to check back in and see how they're doing now.
The Shedd Aquarium in Chicago is once again open to visitors.
We see all kinds of school groups or camps that come to visit Shedd Aquarium. They're people of all ages that are visiting us. Throughout the pandemic, we were able to engage people, even though they weren't on site, through social media and different virtual programs. We launched a program called Stay Home with Shedd when it was a video series that initially launched with Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and it gave people a behind-the-scenes look at our animal care and health practices.
The pandemic also created a rather famous social media star, a penguin named Wellington.
Wellington, the penguin, has become somewhat famous for the field trips that him and several other penguins at Shedd went throughout the pandemic.
So while we humans may have had our travel restricted during the pandemic, Wellington and his friends were experiencing some newfound freedom visiting parts of the aquarium that would normally have been off limits because of crowds. They also had a chance to get out and explore Greater Chicago.
They visited places like the Field Museum and the Museum of Contemporary Art. The penguin adventures throughout Chicago received a really great worldwide response. We heard from people all over the world about how much joy these penguin field trips were bringing them.
Like many aquariums, Shedd was concerned about the impact the lack of visitors might have on the animals. Were they relieved or bored? Did they even notice?
Anecdotally, a lot of our animal caretakers who are here day in and day out throughout the pandemic, they had shared that they noticed some differences in behaviors with some of the animals.
So Shedd Aquarium researchers decided to try and determine if the animals missed seeing visitors. Austin Happel is a research biologist at Shedd.
So what we were doing is taking water samples out of the habitats that the fish live in, and from that water sample we're actually able to look at hormones, and these hormones are released by fish whether they're excited, maybe they're going into spawning mode, or maybe they're stressed out. And what we were able to do is kind of compare those hormones when guests were not in the building to the levels of those hormones when guests were in the building.
So what did the study reveal?
They don't seem to care that we're here or not, at least with this study's outcome, or at least at the moment.
But according to Shedd researchers, there is still a lot to learn about fish behavior.
I think anecdotally, people are noticing that the fish seem pretty excited when people come to the aquarium and see them. You could see some of the fish come swim up to you and kind of see what you're doing and why are you here. So there's some of those behavioral responses we're seeing.
At the Aquatarium in Brockville, Ontario, their first concern during the pandemic was feeding and caring for the animals.
It was all about making sure that we had enough food on site, because in the beginning it was really difficult to get some foods and even just to have them transported here. So just stocking up on foods for the animals was a big priority.
They also realized that they needed to change their training methods to protect the animals.
Our otters especially are susceptible to getting COVID, so we needed to change our training methods. So we no longer used a whistle, which was our daily routine. Instead, we were just making noises behind our masks to emulate that sound of a whistle so that we can continue training and giving them the enrichment that they needed.
The Aquatarium started virtual tours that included a live component that gave viewers a behind-the-scenes look at otter training.
So they got to go live with our otters and see how they were trained and just learn a little bit more about them and what we do with them and how much we love them. So it was a great overall experience for our guests as well as for us.
The tours were so successful that the Aquatarium has created a special virtual experience just for elementary school students.
Grade 1 to grade 6 was kind of our target audience, and it was called Adventures Behind the Scenes. And so we really focused on the animals and the animal husbandry team and the things that they do and the fun, quirky things they like to see and do with the animals.
The Aquatarium plans to continue doing virtual tours and may even expand the age of their audience.
I think in the off-season we're going to continue to offer them to schools and other groups such as seniors' residences, for instance, because they don't necessarily have a chance to get out. So this is a way for us to reach them.
Although they have had great success virtually, they say there's nothing like the feeling of having visitors back in the building.
it's loud and it's busy and there's so many people and there's smiles all over the place. It just really brings joy back into the building, and it's an awesome feeling.
The oldest aquarium in the country, the Belle Isle Aquarium in Detroit, spent the lockdown sprucing up.
During that time, we spent about $1.2 million to renovate exhibits, especially in the background, new filtration systems. We've added exhibits and refurbished almost every exhibit we've had while we were closed.
The aquarium also added a garden eel exhibit and 8 new saltwater tanks that feature a variety of visitor favorites like clownfish. They have new freshwater fish like the African butterfly fish and elephant nose fish, and they created enrichment programs designed to provide stimulation for the animals.
I had to actually do different things to create something for them to look at. I would change their environment. I actually have hissing cockroaches that I used to let walk on the glass. I would draw on the glass with like paint markers just to keep the animal stimulated, because in nature, they have constant stimulation.
The Belle Isle Aquarium also started a series of virtual classroom events.
We were doing in-person field trips before the pandemic, and rather than leave the teachers in a lurch that are trying to teach, we took our field trips and presented them virtually, and then we started doing live virtual events for classrooms where the classroom would tune into the aquarium and our staff, and they would walk around and do their presentations live and then take questions from the children.
In part 2, we learned about decomposers and how they continue the flow of energy through an ecosystem.
Belle Isle plans to continue their virtual learning events and is now welcoming teachers back to educational programs at the aquarium. For those who work there, the effort is all worth it when they see visitors enjoying the exhibits.
It's really exciting because we put a lot of work in this aquarium, and with no one here to see it, it was just kind of sad. So I am so excited to have people enjoy these fish like I do.
At Great Lakes Now, we aim to cover the Great Lakes region and the people who live here, like you. Please follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and sign up for our newsletter at greatlakesnow.org.